is something that you can do as an individual looking to make a lifestyle change is model the success that you've seen in other areas of your life. So the standards that you've already set for yourself, be it at an unconscious or conscious level, that have allowed you to succeed in perhaps your career, perhaps, your family, your hobbies, whatever it may be. You can look at that and perhaps, Laurie or I, we can help our clients break that down and see, hey, here are the standards I'm holding myself to in this area of life where I'm really winning. And here's how I can make this applicable to this area of life, be it health, whatever it may be, where I'm looking to get even better.
On the Healthy Human Revolution podcast, Dr. Lori Marbas interviews nutrition and lifestyle medicine experts and extraordinary guests whose informative and inspiring stories will empower you with the knowledge to transform your life and health.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Dr. Lori Marbas, and today I'm so honored to welcome Kate Galli. How are you?
Laurie, I am awesome, and I'm excited to be on the podcast with you.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm always fun to talk to someone halfway around the world, and you're literally in the future. It's a different day, which it just kills me. Every single time that happens, it's just remarkable. I'm easily amused, apparently. So you've done a lot of work. You do a lot of cool things, but I want to get to your health coaching and the other things in your podcast and everything. But can you tell us a little bit about who is Kate Galli and your plant-based journey?
100%. So I'm a vegan health coach here in Sydney, Australia, and I probably got into health and fitness originally as a way to transform my own confidence and my own body. I was a debilitatingly shy teenager. So I discovered the gym at about 19, got pretty obsessed with it. Took about 10 years on from that point in time to where I discovered that this was the one thing that I never got sick of talking about when friends or strangers or, any random person asked me for health advice. That was the one thing I loved to talk about. So that was when I transitioned health and fitness, being a personal trainer specifically, to my career. And I was vegetarian at that point in time. I've been veggie since I was 16 and I'm 44 now. So it was only 5 years ago that as a, vegetarian personal trainer, I saw cowspiracy like so many other people. And I was confronted with the fact that being veggie wasn't enough. I needed to transition to the vegan plant-based lifestyle. So that happened 5 years ago. And over that period of time, I've focused my energy more on vegan health coaching and looking to help those clients with transitioning from, I guess, either the carnivore or omnivore style lifestyle to a plant-based lifestyle, or also those vegans we love and want to help out who are a little too addicted to the junk food vegan lifestyle. So I'm a strong advocate of a whole food plant-based approach.
That is absolutely the best approach, because I think that's one thing we have in common with people that we work with is folks who are new to the plant-based world, they just think even the processed food is going to be healthy or healthier, and in many cases it can be healthier, but it's certainly not going to create health. And so I think that's a really good point. So how do you help someone who's brand new to this world? How do you help them transition? Have you found certain commonalities that everyone needs help with, or do you adjust accordingly? Or what was your surprises? What are some of your sage advice after all these years?
Yeah, do you know, it's so fascinating seeing that the struggles that most of my clients have. And again, since I've been a trainer for 15 years now, a lot of my clients have been with me almost that entire period of time. So I've got lots
Wow.
of clients that have been with me for over 10 years. So having said that, most of them, you know, aren't fully plant-based. They're just kind of
Mm,
becoming a little bit more open to it. But the fascinating thing is most people, what they struggle with, whether they still eat animals or whether they're like fully embracing the plant-based lifestyle, it's stuff like discipline and, you know, food addictions and emotional eating and time and being resistant to meal prep. We just can't resist that. We've got to admit that no matter what type of healthy lifestyle you want to lead, meal prep it's just has to be a given.
mhm,
And the funny thing is, you know, I've encountered people who do bodybuilding, you know, following eating animal products or bodybuilding, you know, with the vegan lifestyle or whatever it may be. It takes the same amount of time that you need to put in to get the results with preparing that food in advance. But some really smart people just resist that for a lot of years, unfortunately. Yeah, so it depends with the individual client, I guess, where they're starting from, right? So for the person who is trying, let's say they're trying plant-based for health reasons, which is probably most common. For me, it was for ethical reasons, but for
mhm,
most people, it's that I encounter in the gym, they're curious about this plant-based thing for health reasons. And so my first point with them would probably to help them make that strong connection with the emotional side of their why. You know, for us who are coming at it from a vegan point of view, we're really, really strongly emotionally connected with the why behind why we're going to change our lifestyle. But
mhm.
from a health point of view, you can sometimes be a little bit wishy-washy. That's probably awful for you to hear as a health professional as well. But I'm sure you found it too, Laurie, that people think anything is better than nothing. And yes,
Mhm,
it absolutely is.
mhm,
But I want to really connect someone with the eliciting their values, eliciting their beliefs, going really deep on the mindset side of things, and then making the connection between living those values, living those beliefs, and how that aligns with their goal. If that goal is, you know, leading a healthy plant-based lifestyle.
mhm. Absolutely. So I think that's brilliant because it's really hard to live a life that's not in accordance with your values. So you're constantly, there's that internal friction. And so making someone aware of that and bringing it to kind of what I call the thinking mind, or making them,
Yeah,
more mindful of that, really is powerful. And sometimes it takes one conversation, sometimes it takes months of conversations.
you are
So
so right.
it really varies. And sometimes it's a discovery. And I had a really cool interaction with my patient last night. And I was like, after being a doctor for 20 some odd years, or close to 20 years, I was like, I have learned so much from my patients. So I said, I would be so
Mhm.
wise if I could just implement all the wisdom. And he goes, maybe not all the wisdom was made for you. I was like, oh, that's actually very good. Maybe it's just me passing along the
Wow,
wisdom. I was like, and he was a young man. I was like, look at you telling me that's great. He goes, I know.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
so true.
it was really fun. It was a really cool interaction, and it was a really nice time last night when I had that conversation with Paige. So I just so enjoy the conversations. And I think, is that part of your joy and why you go back? I call it veggie crack. When people, I was like, eat vegetables, get better. I get a dopamine hit. It's like veggie crack. So I just need you
I
to keep
love
doing
that.
it.
I have heard you say that. I love that. And yes, you're so right. That's one of the things that, you know, has kept me in this career for so many years is I get to interact with so many amazing people. And,
Mm,
you know, I guess I'm a luxury product as a personal trainer, right? So I get to interact with some incredibly successful professionals. And
mm,
you know, I love that. I love that even though many of them aren't full plant-based yet, they have, you know, we've built up a level of trust and rapport, and they've been observing my journey over the past number of years and seeing that it only gets better and better and easier and easier. And I'm not, you know, like
mhm,
by eating away into this, like sickly little vegan. We've busted that stereotype by now anyway. But one of the other things I really love about really successful clients in their professional life is something that you can do as an individual looking to make a lifestyle change is model the success that you've seen in other areas of your life. So the standards that you've already set for yourself, be it at an unconscious or conscious level, that have allowed you to succeed in perhaps your career, perhaps, your family, your hobbies, whatever it may be. You can look at that and perhaps, Laurie or I, we can help our clients break that down and see, hey, here are the standards I'm holding myself to in this area of life where I'm really winning. And here's how I can make this applicable to this area of life, be it health, whatever it may be, where I'm looking to get even better.
That's really good, because then you're showing them that they're winning in other parts of their life. It gives them confidence to move forward in something they maybe feel a little less confidence and unsure of, the journey.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we used to do, my friend Anthony, who we launched the plant-based telehealth with, and we launched Healthy Human Revolution. And it's fun because we used to do Mindset Monday podcasts, and those were really fun. And honestly, I think we got more enjoyment in our audience, but we learned
Awesome.
it was just really good because those were moments to reflect on things that, people or patients had said, and take it into my own account and say, well, how am I can apply that to my own life too? So it's a growth for everybody, because nobody's perfect in this journey, and it certainly it gets easier with time, but we're all fallible. So what is some of your challenges that you ever, or do you have your for me, it's those here in the United States, they have these little Girl Scout, I don't know if you've ever had one, but they're vegan, and they're their thin mint cookies. My goodness, they're quite delicious, but I can't have them because I'll eat the whole thing. But anyway, that's mine. Do you have one?
Yeah, absolutely. I have plenty, of course. I'm an emotional eater. I get so much joy from food. And that's why I get a little bit triggered when
Mm,
someone says to me, oh, I couldn't be vegan. I love food too much. I love food so much. However, it's my firm belief that once we admit our lack of discipline, and I do have a lack of discipline like around a lot of food, once we admit it, it's actually a bit of a game-changing advantage because we start outsmarting our lack of discipline. We start out planning. We start learning from our mistakes in the past because they're always going to happen again if the circumstances are set up for them to happen again. So, Laurie, mine are like roasted nuts, any nuts really, salted nuts. I have to, my colleagues laugh because I keep my nuts at work. I keep them at the gym. They can't be in the house because they're a trigger food for me. I love them so much and I will not share them. All the boys at the gym, they test me. They ask for a portion of nuts. I don't share them with anyone. I love them too much. So they're one of my tempting trigger foods.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nuts, pecans. I love pecans. They're
So
delicious.
good. So many are
Yes.
so good.
Oh, yeah, there's something special about that. Oh my goodness. But absolutely. And so when you work with someone, when you also speak about how to make this adoption easy. So, you spoke a little bit about the mindset. Is there other tips and tricks that you found to help people make this transition?
Yeah, there are so many. Like I have a kind of a top 10, so I won't go through all of them. But I guess one of the surprising ones to some people making the transition is just how a healthy meal is formatted or how you build it. So you're not focusing on the one main event like you used to with that kind of, I guess, slab of animal flesh, right? But you're building a meal of your plant strong protein for sure, but your fibrous veg and your good fats. And I found that for someone who's coming from a position with no pre-existing health conditions, personally speaking for myself, I've actually gotten away with eating a lot more of the healthy whole food fats, the nuts, the seeds, the avocados, never the processed oils. I've gotten away with eating larger meals. A lot of people are kind of stumped by that initially. They might like swap a slab of steak with a pile of spinach and not be satisfied. And no wonder, right? Like
Right.
we really have to eat those big, diverse, hearty meals, which I kind of find is a really happy side effect.
Mhm.
So that's one of the main points, how you build a meal. But I would also say, finding your community, connecting with the people who inspire and motivate you. And, I didn't have that for years when I was a vegetarian.
Mm.
We didn't have the documentaries. I hope I didn't see them. We didn't have the anonymous for the voiceless, the what the health, the cowspiracy, the footage that we now have. So I was, happily vegetarian, thinking I was doing enough for 23 years. And I hadn't sought out the vegan mentors. They were probably there, but down the track, I discovered Rich Roll's podcast, and I found amazing vegan athletes. And so I would say that's something really important for anyone looking to make this lifestyle change. You have to find the people who are already there doing it so that you can model their success. They're online. And I would also say find the people who are living like a similar lifestyle to either what you're living now or what you could be happy living. Like if you're a mom with 3 young kids and you're working full time, maybe don't choose your influencer as that 20-year-old single female still living at home, barely working. It's kind of is making it harder than it needs to be.
Yes, having been a mom of 3 and working full time and transitioning to plant-based, I totally understand.
You've done it. Yeah.
Yes, I have. And I will say, yeah, that was our challenge. So I've been vegan 9 years, or going on 9 years
Amazing.
in the spring. And I brought it home to 3 teenagers. So they were 13, 15, and 18 at the time. So now they're 26, 24, 22, still plant-based. Husband's still plant-based. So that we've I feel that was a success. And my daughter's about to graduate medical school. So that's even cooler. I was like, yes, another plant-based
That
vision.
is
My
so
deed is done.
cool. So cool. How receptive were they initially, Laurie, especially the kids?
Were they receptive? Really? No,
Yeah. No.
no, no. So, I mean, we ate fairly well. I mean, we were a busy family and they were all in sports and doing other
Mm,
activities. And, so we certainly pick up stuff. But after my interaction with the patient, they did so well. And I was like convinced by the science. I was like, that's it. I'm done. We're doing this overnight because I can't do another day. And so it was really interesting. The kids, the youngest, he was probably the most receptive. My daughter was heading off to college. So she was like, yeah, I'll put up with you for the summer. And then I'm off to college and I'm doing my thing. But, she never gave, I have really good kids. I was really blessed because I think God knew that I could not take challenging children. I would probably have not made it long as a mother. So he gave me some really good ones. I was like, yay. Because nothing that I did for sure. And I'm pretty sure they would tell you that too. No,
Oh.
they were very good. I think because I was in the military, I was in the Air Force as well.
Mm,
And my husband had been prior military. We ran a pretty, well, I wouldn't say it was like a military home, but very strict, right? And so we had
right.
expectations. And if you didn't meet them, well, there's consequences and you're still going to have to do whatever you got to do. So part of
Yeah.
that was I went to medical school with 3 little kids. They were 5, 3, and 10 months when I started medical school. And in that process, cooking and cleaning, I was like, listen, y'all eat what you got in front of you because I ain't making something else. So they grew up understanding that they would either eat it or be hungry in the morning and they'd find something else to eat. But it may sound harsh, and I mean, this is just reality. I was like, I had very limited time. I had a lot on my plate,
Mm,
and they were fine for it. They're not picky at all. They'll eat anything that doesn't eat them. And you know what I'm saying as far as plants
I
and all that. But I'm just
do.
saying it's so when I came home and made that transition, it wasn't anything too crazy because they already liked all the food that we were going to be eating. And
Mm,
they just understood also that they're not going to question my decision because this is the house you live in and it's run by mom and dad and this is what we're
mm,
doing. So, and of course I'm always educating and talking to them. And I said, listen, when we go out, you guys eat what you want, but inside the
mm,
house, we're not going to eat plants or going to eat anything but plants. And
yeah.
that worked out fine. And when I made food, I had to up my game as a chef, man. They were real good about, they give me up, I'd say, okay, thumbs up or thumbs down. And it gave them a little bit of a feedback and it made them feel good if they could tell me that I was a really crummy meal. And I was like, fine, I'll make it better next time. You will like it. So, and that's kind of where it's led. And now they love it. They make these decisions on their own independently. And it took about a year when I started noticing that we'd go out to eat and they'd order tofu instead of steak or chicken. And, I was like, wow, we never really had we didn't have a lot of bad food influences. Like we didn't buy a lot of junk food and stuff. So they didn't have a soda thing. They didn't, so it wasn't too difficult to just transition to one more level healthy. And we had always talked about health and activity. They're always physically active. So yeah, I think I was just really lucky in that regard. And my husband's just like, you're still cooking? Cool. And he lost 70
That's
pounds.
amazing.
Yeah. So he lost 70 pounds in the process. And
Wow.
yeah. And so that's always been a good thing. So yeah, that's my thing. But do you have a family, or do you have friends or family that you've influenced that have changed as well?
Yeah, do you know, the family's funny. I'm single right now. When I first went vegan, I was dating a guy who was very much into bodybuilding, the bro science, all the animal products type of bodybuilding. And I very much relate to your the way you spoke about cooking, because I had a point to prove, right? Like I wanted to make the most delicious meals. And he loved those meals actually because I made them healthy. They weren't vegan junk food. They were still high protein, although the protein thing's a bit of a myth. Like when, we get enough protein. But I made them high protein and I made them lower carb for him. Although again, personally, I think carbs are great as long as they're whole food carbs. So I really upped my cooking game. And my dad, my family live in another state. I'm an only child. My mum and dad live in another state. Whenever I go home, we do a lot of entertaining, and dad is a huge meat man and vehemently opposed to veganism and anything like that. And mum was actually on the same page pretty much, just to keep the peace. Dad and I butt heads very freely. We always have. When I was vegetarian, it was a bit of an embarrassment that he had a vegetarian daughter. And then I turned vegan, and then I became an animal rights activist. And that was all a bit much. And so the first year that I was going home for Christmas as a new vegan, mum was really stressed because she thought there'd be big fights around the dinner table, which so many vegans can relate to. We had the extended family round. And she rang me up and she said, look, Katie, I don't know what to do about Christmas unless you just want to handle it and make it a vegan feast. And I'm like, done. Yep, done. I will handle Christmas. And again, I'm not a big cook generally. I'd started to get better because, I wanted to prove how good it can be. And so I cooked 9 new recipes, first time recipes for that vegan Christmas. And I was a little bit heartbroken because dad insisted on having, some flesh there as well. And I was like, I'm going to all this effort and you still have to bring the flesh. But anyway, everyone loved the vegan stuff. Everyone was really receptive. Mum was so grateful because I'd done the heavy lifting, and it was such a success. And the amazing thing is, Laurie, that Christmas, a couple of Christmases ago, on the day before I left there in Queensland, the day before I left to fly home to Sydney, Mum said to me, Katie, will you watch What the Health with me? And mind you, several years previously, I'd said, all I want for my birthday is for you, mum and dad, to watch What the Health. I tried to emotionally blackmail them, and strangely that didn't work. And then years on, after this vegan feast I'd made for Christmas, mum said, can you watch it with me? I said, amazing. We watched it. She said, I'm going to give this plant-based thing a go for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we went down to the markets and got some falafel and did this frenzied shop before I flew out that afternoon. Mum was actually a nurse for 30 years, so she comes from a health background as well. And What the Health really, really, really resonated with her in the way that at that point in time, Dominion or Earthlings or that sort of thing might have just been too much for her. That was nearly 2 years ago. Mum's still full plant-based.
Oh, wow.
She listens to all my podcasts. She's watched Dominion. She's like, I'm so proud. It's amazing.
Oh, that is awesome. What about your dad?
Oh my God, he's still so opposed.
He's like, oh my goodness, they're starting to outnumber me.
funny short story. I said I'm an only child, but actually I had I had a cat who was a little brother, my mum and dad's cat, Thomas, and he died about 6 weeks ago. And he was my little brother. And, that was really sad. He had the best life. He lived to 17.
Wow.
And mum and dad just got a new cat. I have a new little brother this week. So it's very exciting. But the reason for sharing this story is that they thought they might get two cats that needed to be housed together. And they were joking that one would be Rocket and one would be Steak, because there's a bit of conflict in the house, really. They need two separate fridges, but dad's cat would be Steak and mum's cat would be Rocket. And anyway, long story short, dad is like very not open to the vegan lifestyle yet. I still hold hope.
Wow. So why do you think, I mean, looking at your dad and others, what do you think, and being vegetarian all these years,
Mhm.
have you had a sense of why people are so resistant?
Yeah.
Even when they've seen and literally living evidence of transitions and doing well and thriving?
Yeah. Do you know, I think a lot of it is fear-based. A lot of it is
Mhm.
the fear as to what they're going to, the changes that they would, they're not even open to looking at the facts or looking at the emotional footage, or speaking for my dad and many people I've had one-on-one interactions with, because they're fearful of the changes that what they would need to make in their lifestyle. And because they haven't done it yet, they don't get, and I didn't get, I relate. I didn't get that the food would be just as delicious, that there would really be no sacrifices, that my health would get even better, even though it was coming from an amazing place anyway. They don't understand that the only hard thing about being vegan is sometimes interactions with non-vegans.
Mhm.
That's really the only challenging thing. The food is amazing. The health benefits are amazing. Most of all, the most amazing thing for me is the congruency I now feel by living my life aligned with my values and beliefs
Mm.
completely. But another insight I had just recently when I spoke to the amazing hench herbivore, Paul Curtin in the UK, and we were speaking about Joe Rogan, who's top of my vegan wish list. I just want him to embrace the truth in his heart. Paul mentioned that Joe likes to believe he's a compassionate person. And I think this is the same for my father. And
Mm.
if you change your actions from those decades, because either you've admitted that you've now got better information and it's better for your health, that takes a strong releasing of the ego to take on that new information. But also it means that you've contributed to cruelty unnecessarily for decades. And
Mm.
most of us contributed to cruelty for a long period of time. And I think some of us maybe more readily, maybe some, I've had a lot of failures in my life. I'm down with failure. I'm down with admitting that I was wrong. I'm very open to getting better.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely not scared of being the odd one out, or, having to take the more difficult path. So these are all kind of hesitations that people who aren't embracing the lifestyle yet must have. And I think that compassion one is really key. They want to believe they're compassionate. So they want to believe that the animals that are being slaughtered, don't die in terror and pain, and it is done humanely. They want to believe all that marketing.
Yeah, there's a lot there to talk about. I had an interview with a doctor, and it was interesting because he says, "Well, I'm primarily plant-based except for fish, or something that's killed humanely on occasion." I was like, "Well, but he talks about all these vegan beliefs that he has and stuff," and I was like, "Well, I'll tell you, death is not compassionate in any form.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how you can claim to be a compassionate, mostly vegan when you're not. I'm like, you either are or you're not. I mean, there's no chain coming back from death." And
True.
it was really interesting because when I switched over to a plant-based diet, of course I did it because my patient did so well, and I just like, this is just a healthier way of doing things for myself and my family. Not that
Mm.
we had, health issues necessarily. But what was interesting was over the course of time, you do become truly, I awoke to the
Yeah.
actual suffering that's occurring to the point that, like my husband and my youngest used to fly fish, they'd catch and release. And like, why did we do that? That's like inflicting this pain on these innocent animals that they're just doing their thing. I was like, exactly. And it's really interesting just to see that evolution occur. But I understand exactly what you're saying. I think that's why doctors don't switch over as well. They have their own internal issues that they're going to have to be open to, like saying, hey, I was wrong. But I think even some, and I had another interaction this week with patients. I guess it was a really good learning week for me. Someone mentioned one of the more prominent plant-based doctors. Well, I was making a recommendation. She goes, well, that doctor doesn't agree. And he's a much older. I was like, I understand that. But I'm also open to the science. I'm also open to understanding that I need to be the best doctor I can to present the best evidence and care for my patients. He's not the one taking care of you. I am. And so, that was really, so there is a really interesting things that, because people hold these other plant-based doctors high in regard, as they should, but they can also be incorrect, right? So we need to be very open to understanding, just like I was wrong for the first half of my practice about I should be plant-based from the beginning. I wish I could have. But exactly right. It's hard. It's a very humbling experience. So I just eat my cake and keep moving on. It's like, well, I was wrong in there. We'll just keep on moving. It's just kind of the saying of like, yeah, you get a pie in the face and you just wipe it off and keep going and learn from your experience. But yeah, absolutely. It's it's hard. It's really hard. So getting on to, I know you had mentioned you had interviewed the Hinge Herbivore and a lot of other people. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and how it started and what your vision is for it, because it's always fun to talk to like-minded people who like to interview people and talk to people.
Other podcasters, for sure. I started it 5 or 6 years ago now, and crazily, I started it as 5 days a week, and I told myself I'd do that for a full year, and I did, and that was amazing. And now it's amazing to only do it once a week. I embraced the interviews after years of thinking I should. And gosh, how many of us procrastinate on something for no good reason for years and years? That was me with the podcast interviews. And I made a start with it actually because Keith Burgesson from Peter approached me, or his assistant did, and said, can he come on to the podcast and speak about the vegan mentor program that Peter runs? And I'm a huge fan of Peter. I know a lot of people aren't, but I am a mad raving fan. And I've had Ingrid on the podcast, and that was just such a highlight for me. And anyway, that was the first interview a couple of years ago now. And it's the thing I love most in life, to be honest, to think, hey, who do I respect and admire most in the world? And now let's approach them and see if they want to chat with me one-on-one for an hour. Like, how insanely cool is that? And the really good thing about the vegan and plant-based world is so many people say yes, because we have the same mission. It's not competitive like fitness. Fitness is really, really competitive. And I kind of hate that side of it. It's not an abundance mentality often in fitness, but it absolutely is in this world where we're all fighting for the same thing. And that's a healthy, happy, compassionate vegan world. That is what I am fighting for. And so the podcast lets me just chat to such a diverse range of humans, from activists to athletes to authors to doctors and filmmakers. And it's healthification, and I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I mean, you learn so much from people, and it's just an honor to be in their presence and speak to them.
Yes.
I started because I was so incredibly amazed with these people who made these wonderful transitions. Like, how did you lose 200 pounds and drastically change your life when I can't get anyone else to, like other people to do it? Like, what is so special about you that whatever was the switch in your brain? And that's honestly just I started because I was just like, I need to learn more. And I'd love just in my patients to have a resource to inspire them. But I have learned so much. Oh my heavens, I don't think I would have grown to be half the person I am without these interactions and the conversations I've had.
I feel
Totally.
exactly the same. And you have a lovely mix where you get to do the transformation stories, and then
Mhm.
you also speak to those huge, like those people that I hero worship a little bit, that I get to chat to as well.
Mhm.
Our plant strong vegan doctors and
Mhm.
the like. It's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And on it, like you said, the abundance mindset is so incredible because
Hmm.
when, as a family doctor, there's a here it's called the AFP, it's the American Academy of Family Practitioners. So you go to those type of conferences, and it's like they're eating unhealthy food. You might know some people, but it's like they're just there to check off, like, I did this, my continuing medical education stuff, and
Yeah.
it's just not the same when you go to like Plantation Project or the American College of Lifestyle Medicine conferences. It's a whole nother world, or the one that Dr. Bernard runs.
Yeah.
And it's like, my husband goes, it's like, Lori, it's like you're returning to the mothership. I was like, yes, yes, I am. I'm returning to the mothership to get recharged.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yep. So, and that's really cool because it's such a different, and everyone, like you said, has the same mission, the same
Yeah.
vision for humanity, the planet, and animals. And yeah, it's really cool. It's just a joy, and I missed all of those this year. I really
I
missed that.
bet. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's COVID. um, but I also am always curious. How do you start someone? We're going to dive in a little bit to the fitness side. It, you were in your almost to mid 40s here. I just turned 50. So how do you work with women? I'm assuming you attract at least a lot of my patients. I seem to attract what I am, which is 35 to 65 women with all these issues. So how do you work with women, let's say in that age group, because that is a big part of my demographic, when you start getting them involved into the gym, and let's say they never walked into a gym, what would you recommend for someone like that?
Yeah, cool. So again, I haven't taken on new clients for years and years and
Oh,
years now. I've
wow.
just
Okay.
been at capacity, but I'll go back in time in my mind to when I did take on new clients. And yes, there's kind of the mix of either my age, and they've all aged with me. So I've got no total youngsters now. My youngest is like 33 because we've all aged together. But that's all right. So we've got my age, and then we've got mum and dad's age, and literally anyone mum and dad's age, I pretend it's like I'm training my mum, who I do train virtually, and it's like I'm training my dad, who I have put together a program for, and he trains too. But so that's my mindset. It's like I'm spending time with my mum or dad, and the gym, our gym is a very safe environment. Everyone knows your name, like cheers the bar. But it's the opposite of your big showy commercial gym, which I used to go to as well pre-COVID. Now I don't. But we're that really safe environment where I know my clients aren't at home in the gym. They're in the gym like I am. I don't know, walking into a hardware store or something like that. And so I want to put them at ease, and I want to start off safe, obviously, but also with something that they don't feel daunted by, right? The gym is kind of either new to a lot of my clients initially, or they've had a bad experience in the past. And
Mm.
so the main thing is to let them feel comfortable, to make sure that it's achievable to them, to be before I became a personal trainer, when I was first studying, I decided what type of person I wanted to be in the gym, because the gym is it's a very visual environment. Your client sees you, but every other client in the gym is very aware of what type of a trainer you are. So I wanted to be the most positive and focused trainer in the gym. And it's something I endeavor to carry on throughout my entire career. So if you're with me in the gym, you have my 100% attention. And sometimes your client, our age or older, is going to want a really intense, strong session where you're focusing on the exercise. But much more so than that, I'm finding they really want someone to listen to them and to empathize with them and to help them work through whatever they're trying to work through right now. Because exercise for me is precious me time, because I love lifting weights. Exercise for my clients is precious them time, because maybe it's the only time where they have someone fully intent on them and their goals and what they're feeling. And so as much as I can, I try to work in the nutrition talk, because we all know that that's going to be 80% of it. And it doesn't matter how hard you work in your time with me in the gym. If you are reckless with the rubbish that you eat, that 99% of the time you're not with me. So yeah, I guess that's a snapshot of how it works.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of like you'll hear people talk about like they go to the hairdresser or something like that, and they do more of a psychologist type of
Yeah.
work. And the plus is they get their hair done, so they get to work out with you, but at the same time they get to work through whatever struggles. And I totally can understand that.
Do you know, it's so true. And also it's kind of very important to, I guess, work through some of the misconceptions that our industry, the fitness industry, have put out there. So I want my clients, be they, young guys, don't have any young guys anymore, or ladies my mum's age, I want them to lift as heavy weights as they can safely lift. Such a misconception. They're not going to get too big and bulky. They're just going to choose their curves and build metabolically active, lean muscle tissue. I also want to bust that myth that carbs are, the demon, the devil, whatever it may be. So many of it breaks my heart. I'll have a 70-year-old lady who's terrified of eating a banana, so that's a part of it as well, which I'm sure you deal with too, that busting the myth, the misconception.
Yes. So I see patients across the United States, and I have international patients as well. And it is really interesting to listen to. They're like you said, and bananas come up a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Or potatoes. They're like, those are going to make me fat. I'm like, no. I promise you're not going to get fat eating a potato or a banana. Now,
100%.
what's on your potato, that might be an issue. But
So
the
true.
potato in and of itself is not going to hurt you.
It's so true. And I think that's why it's so impactful and powerful for those of us who are, committed to the healthy, vegan, plant-based lifestyle, that we walk the talk. Like the way we act and look and our energy is such a powerful way to advocate, for the animals, from my point of view, for the planet, for your health, whatever it is. But we have the opportunity with every interaction with our clients, to show them how easy and positive and sustainable the lifestyle can be and is.
It is. And I think because I've made a choice to be kind of step out and, do the podcast and do other things, to put myself in front of people to share this message, which I feel it's like you're compelled to scream from the rooftops.
Yeah.
I really, really have accountability to those that I may help, inspire them to make better choices. And I'm like, I don't have room in my life to mess up and then potentially hurt someone I don't even know. That's how I see it. And so now I'm training I love running. I've been a runner for a long time. Maybe not always consistently. I need to spend more time in the gym. That is my other thing I do. But I'm training for my first 50K. Which is just a little over 31 miles. And so since I just turned 50, I was like, 50K seems like a good thing. And I've trained from before.
That's amazing.
But so I've hired, I've got a really awesome plant-based running coach, Donnie Campbell from Scotland. And I just love you guys with your accents. I'm sure I have an accent to you, but whatever. But it's just really fun to see, and speak to him weekly and get that feedback. I've never really had a coach before or anything like that. So it was really interesting. So I do encourage people, if you have a goal, reach out to people like yourself or like Donnie, to someone who can actually help you, because it's nice not to have to take that on all yourself. And it really does, when you're feeling like, do I have to, I ran 5 miles before our interview. I was like, I am not going to run later because I know I'll be stressed and feeling fresh. And like, Donnie's going to, he's watching, he sees, because I do this upload on Training Peaks, like, Donnie's going to see that I didn't do it till, nope, I'm doing it now. So that's where I find that very helpful. But so you have a very special role, I think, in helping people find and maintain health. So I think that's very, very good. So thank you for your service for that. That's awesome.
I'm so lucky. It's such a privilege, and I really resonate with what you say about hiring a coach. The more successful you are, I'm thinking of my clients, the more of a joy it is to just actually switch off for once and let someone else do the thinking for you. You know,
Yes.
we're making decisions all the time in our life. And so it's not a weakness, it's just an absolute privilege and joy to actually just pass that off to one little professional in your life, and say, hey, you make the decisions for me. I'm just going to focus on doing what you tell me to do for a little bit. I think it's
Yep.
so good.
Exactly. And when I had my first, so I interviewed Donnie. I don't know if the podcast is up yet, but afterwards we had our first conversation as just the coach and the client, and he was saying, he had other interactions where people were very like, I want to do this, this, and this, and he's like,
Yeah.
why am I your coach?
Yeah.
Whereas like Donnie, I said, you don't understand. Like you said, it's switching. I make decisions on other people's care and
Yeah.
is like literally decision fatigue. But like you said, and when Donnie says, I'm going to do this, I'm like, okay. Like, I just do what you
Totally.
tell me. I'm pretty sure is the easiest person he's ever had. Like, you don't understand. I'll just do what you say. This is
Yeah.
really
Generally,
easy.
the busiest professionals, the most high achievers, generally they're the best clients because A, they're always on time, B, they want to make the most of their time, and C, they've done their homework, their due diligence, they've hired and chosen you for a reason. And so then they're just going to sit back and let you make the decisions for them.
Yeah, and I'm pushing 30 miles a week now, and I'm like, this is good.
Good on you. Amazing.
Yep. So totally stoked about that. But I know you need to go. You have clients in the gym.
I do.
I don't even, what time is it there? 5:30 in the
No,
morning?
it's fine. Now it's
Oh,
6:22. So
6:22.
it's even light outside now. It's all good. It's amazing.
Amazing. It's 12:30 in the afternoon here. It just cracks me up. On Friday, and you're in Saturday. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm in the future.
You are the future. Those are fun. But I know I want to be respectful of your time, and you do need to go. Is there any last bit of advice you would recommend for someone who's contemplating this way of eating, or, contemplating bringing on the gym?
Yeah, of course. The one thing I wish I knew, 25 years ago or so when I was like debilitatingly shy and nervous is with anything, whether you're looking to adopt a plant-based lifestyle or walk into the gym for the first time, whatever it may be, I would say back yourself 100%. Times are uncertain right now. Times are always uncertain, but we kind of often think we have more control with circumstances than what we do. The only thing that we really have control over is ourselves and the decisions that we make. And so I would say my very best advice is to back yourself, to have certainty in you, because you actually can't have certainty in circumstances. And sadly, you often can't have certainty in people, but definitely you can have certainty in you and in the fact that you'll come up with the goods no matter what hand you're dealt.
Absolutely. I think that's 100%. It all comes back to your shoulders, whatever your decisions are. So you're literally the product of all the decisions you made in the last, well, for me, 50 years. So
Yeah.
again, it doesn't mean you have to continue down that path. So I think that's brilliant. Absolutely. So be certain where you want to go, so you'll turn your sails and take off in that direction. So absolutely. Well, thank you, Ms. Kate. That was a wonderful conversation, and I really appreciate your time with us. And I will put all your information on where people can find you and learn more about your podcast and listen to all, I'm sure, your amazing interviews. And if you have any questions or anything, please, everyone, just take a peek at below at the lines there. We'll have some links for you. But Kate, thanks again for your time with us.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I love what you do. You have some amazing guests. So it was a huge privilege and so much fun to chat with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you again.